Hello and very warm welcome, dear students and my audience. This is Dr. Zia Ahmed, YouTube channel. The lecture is being recorded for the benefit of the students. Our today's topic is discourse markers, which is really very interesting, and that can help us understand why these discourse markers are used and what is the significance of these discourse markers. Let us enter into the details and see how we can deal with this. So that's the topic, significance of the discourse markers. And as soon as we proceed further, we can talk about some of the definitions. First of all, in order to understand discourse markers, we need to go first for the discourses. Discourse is that which is concerned with the use of language and the relationship of the sentences among them. This is the type of discourse definition that we can utilize when we are talking about discourse markers. For example, language which has been produced as the result of an act of communication, that is the definition given by Longman Dictionary. And it also discourse refers to larger units of language, such as paragraphs, conversations, and interviews, or the continuous stretches of language longer than a single sentence may be called discourse, which is significant with respect to the discourse markers. So from here we can learn that one thing that we do as human being is the production of language in order to communicate with each other. But that production of language is not only in the words but also in sentences, and after that it's in the conversations, it's in the shape of the paragraphs, and sometimes in the shape of the interviews. But whatever it may be, for the sake of understanding of discourse markers, this type of discourse definition is most useful, that it is a continuous and long stretch of language. So this is discourse, and let us see are the discourse and the type of importance of these things, how one can have the discourse markers. For this purpose, we need to understand what is the competence. The competence of using language to display personal and social identities, to perform actions, and to negotiate relationships. This is also the ability to organize conceptual information and to represent it through language and textual. The ability to create and understand messages within units of language longer than a single sentence. So, expressive and social competence means actually that we must be able to produce language and we must be able to manage language as well. So, two types of competence is required. One, that you must be capable of producing language, and after that, you must be able to manage that language in such a way that you are more and more effective. If this competence is there, then only discourse would be effective. And how that can lead us to discourse markers, let us see that. Here, for example, we have some of the issues that we can discuss regarding discourse markers. Discourse markers, first of all, are called as the linguistic expressions. These are used to signal the relation of an utterance to the immediate context. Or it can be with the primary function of bringing to listeners' attention a particular kind of upcoming utterance with the immediate discourse context. So, what does it actually mean? It means that discourse markers are the things or the words or the expressions, which may be called linguistic expressions, which are used in order to let us know what was the previous context and what possibly can happen further, or what is the kind of in meaning of the writer that he wants to implement and what can be expected out of that. So this pre-prediction and post-prediction type of activity is done by the discourse markers. So the expression, the words which let us know what was the context of using of this discourse marker and what possibly can happen in the next coming sentence, that is the job of the discourse markers. And the words which are used here are called as the discourse markers. And similarly, if we go a little bit ahead, we can have more definition of discourse markers, that discourse markers can be the display of the speaker's understanding of the continuation and the contribution of sequential relationship. This definition was provided by Goldberg in 1980, and similarly, another definition is to introduce level shifts within the conversation, that was talked by Keller in 1979. And then discourse markers are also helping us, the speaker, to divide his message into chunks of information. So, three definitions and three meanings we can talk about discourse identity and discourse markers. That is, first of all, that it shows that the speaker knows what is the relationship between the two parts of the sentence, which are pre-discourse marker and the post-discourse marker. He also knows that how he can change the level of his conversation and what should be the level, the higher, the lower, the medium level. And similarly, he also can show that he's got the information, he's got the knowledge and the skill to divide the long information into different parts so that it may be understandable very well. So these are some of the definitions that the discourse markers are like that. And these definitions also highlight the uses of the discourse markers as well. Why do we use them? What is the reason behind that? Number one is the reason that we want to maintain the continuity of our conversation, and we want to have the response signals also. That is why the discourse markers are used. Discourse markers are also used in order to express the relationship or the relevance of one utterance or with the other utterance. In the same way, these discourse markers appear in the spoken and written language, definitely they are appearing, and as a result, they help the reader, the listener, to organize and to interpret and evaluate the information. This was told by Wendy Koppel. His discourse marker reasons that why we use them is explained in these ways. So therefore, what is the possible reason that we are using discourse markers is that they help us understand what is the relationship between the parts of the sentence coming before the discourse marker and after the discourse marker. We can also use it in written language, in spoken language also. They express the meaning of the writer and the listener also. And when they are used in spoken language, they provide a chance to wait and see what is going to happen next, and the information can be divided into different parts as well. So these are the reasons that we use the discourse markers. Let us see what further is there. Now, discourse markers are used at two levels. One is the primary level, other is the primary discourse level, we should say, other is the meta discourse level. For example, on one level, we convey information about our subject matter. On the other level, we show listeners and readers how to listen or read or react to. So the purpose of the discourse markers is at two levels. One is to convey the information, and second is that what is the intention of the speaker or the writer, that the listener or the reader should read the discourse the way the writer or the speaker wants. The first level, the conveying of the information, is the primary discourse level, and the second level, how we want him with the use of discourse markers, is the meta discourse level. This is also told by Van Keppel, and this is the two levels of the discourse that we can have while we are using discourse markers. And same is the case here that Halliday, one of the famous, linguist and the person who is covering large areas of language, he has talked about three functions of these discourse markers and discourse language. One is ideational, second is interpersonal, and the third one is textual. When we talk of the ideational, actually we are trying to establish a relationship among the human beings who are creating the discourse and who are listening and reading the discourse. We are trying to establish a relationship, and as a result, when we try to establish this relationship, what happens there, that our personal feelings, our personal understanding of these expressions and the personalities, they may change the understanding which the writer wants to convey and the understanding which the reader is listening to that. These two things also influence these things, and that is why it is called as interpersonal discourses as well. And in the same way, when we want to communicate, we need to put whatever we want to say through language in a part of the language which is called as text, which has to be cohesive and which has to be very much correlated with each other. If we are doing these two things, definitely ideational function will be performed or interpersonal function will also be performed, but that is the level of the text, and this is defined by Michael Halliday, the three functions of discourse markers used, and the creating of the analysis of language, one can say, and then the conveying of the meaning through text, through interpersonal feelings, and ideational kind of things in the discourse analysis. And then there are certain other people also who have proposed the model how the discourse markers could be useful. For example, according to them, there are some textual discourse markers. The purpose of these textual discourse markers is to provide interpretations of the markers, and these very markers can also be used in order to express our interpersonal feelings. For example, the hedges that we use in order to connect the sentences, they also are the reasons that the discourse is very effective now. In the same way, some discourse markers are certainty. I mean, they create a type of certain situation, sure situation. Some are the attributive. I mean, they talk about the quality of different things or persons or places. These discourse markers are called attributors. And then there are the attitude markers. That means some discourse markers may be reflecting and showing our attitude towards certain person or towards a place or towards a thing. And same is the case with the commentary discourse markers. These commentary discourse markers are also important because some words are there which show our comment on the given situation. These types of discourse markers are available in a page with me with the list and the use of these things, so you can approach in order to get these discourse markers under these listings as well. And then after having this division, we may talk about the major functions as a repetitive thing because we have already talked about this. Number one is they do what, including claiming the attention of the hearer. So discourse markers are used in order to catch the attention of the person who is reading the discourse. And similarly, one wants to create boundaries between the things which are already said and the things which are going to be shifted to next. That boundary is created. And the third function is to not only give the information but also to relate it with the old information which is already available. And the same way, one needs to have the responses to different situations, and these responses can be subjective also, or these responses can be the reactions as well about the preceding discourse or the things which are going to come. Discourse markers help us in order to express all these things. And same would be the case with the experiences, personal feelings of the speaker and the hearer. For example, what are the experiences they share, what kind of intimacy they share. Discourse markers go to indicate this thing as well. And then same is the case with the assumptions, with the checking, with the expression of understanding or requesting the confirmation. That also is the function of the discourse markers. And therefore, at the end, we can say that these discourse markers are really very helpful in teaching, learning English language. When we are teaching English language, it makes it more comprehensive, more interpretable if we are using discourse markers. And secondly, while you are learning English language at that time also, it helps us to remain organized. We can understand English language in a better way if these discourse markers are clarified and their use is clarified and understood as well. And finally, this is very important because it makes the teaching and learning very effective, and the concepts become very much clearer, and the technical things which are available in that, these are also understood in a very controlled manner. So that is what we can say about these discourse markers. So thank you very much for watching, and hopefully a type of understanding has been created in the mind of the viewers about these discourse markers, what these are, why they are used, what is the benefit of all this. So thank you for watching. Hope to see you in some next video. And if you like it, if you benefit from it, do not fail to hit the like button and the subscribe button. Your comments are also read by me for some time. May not be responded always, but sometime I do so. So till then, see you in next video. Hope to see you again very soon. Thank you for watching.